Ison.
Oh yeah, sometimes they forget. Sometimes there's a mistake in there, or they forgot it. So you have to go in. You have to add your own. Do a little bit of work. So it's a harsh life.
Yes.
Because Byzantine chant stuff,
Yes.
So we'll get started. So this is the end of Matins. It's the end of resurrectional Matins. And we're going to be looking at what I think, instead of going through all the little brief stuff, because I think we'll go through those really quickly, just going through essentially resurrectional stuff, but all the God is the Lord and all the other parts of Matins. I'd like to start with these, because these are the bigger things that are a little bit tougher to read, and they just kind of come up, and I'll explain when they come up. But I think it's good to look through them and at least see them ahead of time, rather than just going to Matins and have never looked at them before. Whereas the other stuff is all brief, it's all fairly straightforward, it's really easy to sight read, it's just a lot of words.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just difficult notation.
Okay.
So these are called the Matinal Doxology, and it says the first Matinal Doxologikon, and it says an Eothenon. And an Eothenon is, it essentially means at the dawn. What you have is you have your multiple cycles of services, which we talked about last week. And so one of them is your 8 tones. You have your Paschal cycle. You have your calendar cycle. And then in this case, you have your what you are called 11 Eothenon gospel readings. So you have 11 counts of the resurrection, 11 accounts. And so what happens is that at Matins, the resurrectional Matins, pretty much every single time, you get one of them read.
Resurrectional Matins being Sunday morning Matins.
Sunday morning Matins.
Okay.
So you get one of them read. And so then what the Holy Fathers did was they said, well, that's good, but what we'd like to do is we'd like to expand on them for the people. So they took these 11 Matinal Gospels, and they said, we're going to write a hymn of light, the Exapostolarian, which will kind of recapitulate what was said in that gospel reading. And then you have these Matinal Doxology, where these essentially take that Eothenon gospel reading and expand upon it even further, because you have a little bit more time.
This is after the gospel reading at Matins?
This is at the tail end of
the Exapostolarian, right?
Yeah, so
you sing one and then you sing this after, or is
that? So you sing.
The Exapostolarian.
Do you sing the? Do you want me to go through the structure of Matins real briefly?
No, not if you were planning on it. I just wondered.
I mean,
It might help.
So let me write it on the board. Not sure what desktop. So, and this is specifically to at least the resurrectional one, because it's not going to be exactly the same for other things, because it always gets a little different.
Yeah.
So, and this will be tremendously brief, just to give you a little outline. And just to let you know, at some point Greece changed the structure, and Russia didn't. And then Constantinople was kind of like, well, what do we do? And then Antioch's like, what do we do? Constantinople changed it, and then Greece followed Constantinople, but Antioch didn't, and Russia didn't, because they were like, what? We've been doing this for how many years, and what do we need to change? So, little things change. But essentially, ignoring the introductory things, you have what are called the 6 Psalms. Except Psalms, 6 Psalms. And that's where you have essentially just 6 psalm readings and nothing goes on. It's supposed to be at the judgment seat of Christ. So no crossing, no nothing. It's just everything is silent. And normally you see in a lot of churches they'll actually extinguish all the candles and everything lighted. Very contemplative, and you can get into those eventually.
You're not supposed to move or talk.
Right. Yeah, and in fact, if you're at certain monasteries, if you enter during the 6 Psalms, you get stopped at the door. There's a monk there. His appointed job is to stop people at the door, and you wait there until they're done.
You're not supposed to read loudly either. These are lessons I learned.
Yeah, straight.
Straight reading. Don't read too loud.
Yeah, this is not a showy thing.
This is not the showy gospel.
Yeah. Then you have the Great Litany after that. And then from there you go into God is the Lord, assuming that we're not in a weekday during Lent, where we sing Alleluia. God is the Lord. And so then those it's interspersed with verses, and right after that At the end of God is the Lord, you have your dismissal hymn, your politikion of the day, dismissal hymn, and any theotokion that goes along with it. So this is essentially the way that Vespers ended, is the way that Matins is beginning. So it's kind of a mirror structure, you know. So God is the Lord, and then what happens is that after God is the Lord, you have a little litany, and then you have kathisma readings. You're talking about the Psalter readings. So you have kathisma, and then at Matins, because we have multiple kathismata, you end up having hymns that are interspersed, that are your hymns of the kathisma. So the first kathisma that you read has hymns that are appointed for it. The second kathisma that you read has hymns that are appointed for it. The third kathisma that you read has hymns appointed to it. There aren't always a third kathisma, but that once we get into that, we'll go to
So in the cathedral, they do, after God is the Lord, they sing the tropar of the resurrection, of the tone of the week.
That's the dismissal hymn, yeah.
So that's the tone of the week or something.
Yeah, all this is in tone of the week. So kathisma and their hymns, or kathismata and their hymns. And then from there, at least on a Sunday, you have the eulogitaria, which are your hymns of blessing. Blessed are you, O Lord, teach me your statutes, after Psalm 118. And normally, Psalm 118 is actually said on Saturdays. I've said on Sundays, but it's said on Sundays. But then this is, the verses are from that, eulogitaria. And then you have your hymns of ascent, which go back to Jewish times, where they were ascending the steps of the temple. And all this, except for the eulogitaria. The eulogitaria are in Plagal 1. Normally brief, except on Holy Saturday when they're done slow. And it changes the whole thing, because then you actually get to ponder what they are. Because you've been singing them so quickly and you have them memorized all throughout the year. And we did this in Pittsburgh, and finally we sang them slow, and we were like, whoa, I didn't even remember it said that. Then you have your hymns of ascent. And then this is where you get into your little controversy where, like, gospel reading versus canon. What comes next? So the way that we do it is that after your hymns of ascent, you have a prokimenon, and the prokimenon always introduces something. And so then, in this case, it introduces the gospel reading. So prokimenon, which goes straight into the gospel reading. And this is one of your 11 Eothenan gospels. And it's, I think I said Eothenan meaning like at the dawn.
There's just 11 for
There's 11.
all the resurrectional Matin services throughout the year.
So they just
rotate. Yeah,
one rotate through.
1 through 11, then you start again.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So then, the way that we've been beginning is that 1 corresponds with 1, 2 corresponds with 2, until you get to 8. Once you get to 9, the 9th Eothenan gospel, you go back to 2 and 1. So now you're at 1 and 9, 2 and 10, 3 and 11, 4 and 1, and so then you repeat. So now you're at a cycle.
Okay. So you just keep going.
Unless you have the church calendar, will show you which.
Yeah, the church calendar will show you.
That's what you keep losing the cycle.
So then, prokimenon goes into the gospel and little things in there. And this, normally because Matins is supposed to be approaching the dawn, these are the ones that not only did these oftentimes happen at the dawn, where Christ appeared to people, but normally it's when the sun is rising. So they're called these Eothena. So, prokimenon, the gospel, and then right after the gospel, then we have, I don't know what to call these, they're just troparia after the gospel, I think that's what they're called. And everything, it always has a funny Greek word, but the Greek word is a very practical thing. So these mean something with respect to the day, the troparia after the gospel, and this is glory to the Father, through the intercessions of the Theotokos, O Lord save us, but now through the intercessions of your apostles, save us. Then you have mercy on us, O Lord, have mercy on us, O God, according to your great mercy. And then you have Jesus having risen from the grave as he foretold, which is what we sing on Pascha night as well. So your troparia, and we'll look at those troparia after the gospel. And then after that, then you have the priest says, O Lord, save thy people and bless thine inheritance, visit, that whole thing, which he also says at the Latia service. So the priest prayer, O Lord, save thy people. And then from there, after that, we have a bunch of Lord have mercies, and then we go into the canon. So I'm going to erase all this unless you don't want me to, because I wrote at an angle on page 2.
I've got it written down. I don't know about the different.
Okay. Okay, so after that, then you go into the canon. we normally do a very abbreviated version of the canon. Such that we actually don't do very much of the canon at all.
Yes.
So you have your canon, and your canon is composed of a model melody, and then your troparia, and troparia just means a hymn. And so the canon has, again, this model melody like we have in all the other hymns for Vespers and other things, but these are specific model melody called irmo. Yeah, the irmos is one of them. So your irmos begins a canon, and you go 1, 3, 4 through ode 9. We always skip 2, unless you're during Lent, because 2 is normally a penitential one. I very seldomly do ever get to sing ode 2. Normally, nowadays, over the past thousand years, no one's composed ode 2 because you never sing it. So whenever you compose them, you start at 1, you go to 3, and 4, 5. And these are in accordance with the biblical canticles that are, there's a bunch of songs that are sung in the Old Testament. That's what these are based upon. So if you ever hear about Jonah, he's always ode 4, one of the odes. But it's because there's a specific order to all those songs in the Old Testament. And so then Jonah always gets 1. The 3 youths in the fire and the fiery furnace always get 1 of the hymns. And what we normally end up singing, so for our purposes, are the katavasiyas. And these are hymns of descent. And the only reason is because at the end of the canon, the ancient tradition was that you had right choir, you had left choir. At the end of that section of the canon, at the end of the canon, ode 1, you had your right choir and left choir descend to the middle and sing the earmost again, or whatever was specified, together, showing unity and all these things. So they descended from their choirs and came down. So that was the katavasiya, the hymn of descent, when you descend and do it together. We don't do anything else except for these katavasiya. And we do them fast, which is not how the katavasiya is.
Okay, so you don't do the verse at all, you just do the little end piece.
Yeah, you just do it again. Just a recapitulation to say, okay, we finished 1. Then we start over again.
Is it the case in this canon that the earmos and the katavasiya are the same?
A lot of times they are.
A lot of times, but not always.
Not always, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'd have to start at 8:30 if we wanted to do the minutes full.
Oh, we'd have to, yeah.
8.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We'd have to do some stuff. And if we wanted to add in the Catechism readings and things. So katavasiyas. After the katavasiyas, then you have like a little interspersed thing.
Is it the same canon every Matin service?
No.
Every resurrectional Matin service?
No.
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 Oh my God.
No, normally, yeah. So you.
Does that cycle through 11?
You have a rotation of your resurrectional canon. So you have a resurrectional canon. You have a canon of the saint of the day. Most of the time you have a canon of the Theotokos that's interspersed there as well. And then the katavasiyas are based upon the season of the year. So like let's say normally, when in doubt, sing the ones to the Mother of God. I shall open my mouth through chant, and with the Spirit shall I be filled. With a little variations there, but they change depending upon the season of the year. Christmas.
The whole canon changes, or parts of it change?
The katavasiya.
The katavasiya change because they're seasonal. The canon, certain parts of it will change because the canon is a whole bunch of canons put together to form the full canon.
Oh wow.
Of the day.
Okay.
So it's not just.
I'm not used to that. That's a new concept.
Yeah, and it's funny because it'll say, do this to make 12, and like having never been in a monastery long enough at the chanter stand to figure out what they're doing, I'm kind of like, what? How do you get 12? Like how do you choose? Where do you get them from?
Yeah.
It's not exactly obvious,
okay.
and oftentimes our books don't say it because no one does. So our books don't help us out. But they're really neat canons. So, ignoring the whole canon discussion, we normally do the katavasiyas.
Okay.
Right now we're doing all Paschal, so today's the day of resurrection. Maybe slight differences here and there, but mostly it is today's the day of resurrection and everything Paschal.
Okay.
After your katavasiyas come, Holy is the Lord our God, which is a little interspersed thing that changes your mode. So Holy is the Lord our God, and that response is a Sunday thing because it's kind of like the Lord is King. Holy is the Lord our God. The Lord.
3 times.
Yeah, Holy is the Lord 3 times. And then normally, if you're outside of the Paschal time, although here I think we've been doing it differently, Holy is the Lord our God, you say 3 times, then you say, Exalt ye the Lord our God, and worship at his footstool, for he is holy. During the Paschal times, you don't say that ending phrase, at least not that I know of. So it changes a little bit. And after that, you go into your exapostolaria.
Mm-hmm.
And these are, in the first one, exapostolaria. These start, there's a bunch of them. One is for the Eothenian Gospel, so you have 1 to 11,
Mm-hmm.
and that's for the resurrection. And that just kind of recapitulates what the Gospel was about. And then from there, then you go into your Saint of the Day, if they have one. If they don't have one, then you just do the ones for the resurrection. If you're in our time, you have one for the time period, so like the paralytic this past Sunday, we'd have one for them, for whatever it is. And this is your hymn of light, kind of illuminating what is the theme of the day. And then from there you go into the praises. Okay. And then the praises, they praise the Lord from heaven, praise him the highest, praise, and then it goes praise him all you sun and moon, praise him all you stars and light, and keeps going, and then that leads into your glory.
Mm-hmm.
And your glory is, at least on Sundays normally, sometimes because we're in the Pentecostarian period and we're singing all these possible things get moved around and shifted, but outside of this special time, your glory is going to be one of the Eothenian Gospels. So Eothenian 1, 2, it will always agree with the Gospel reading. So your glory is there. And so now, like this past Sunday might have been for the paralytic, and then both now for the resurrection. Today is the day of resurrection, but it's the illumination. And so glory, and then you go both now, and your both now is normally in the tone of this Eothenian. So comes from there, and that's most blessed art thou, O birth giver of God, and it keeps going. And this is always the same, except in the time period where we are right now.
Except where it's not the same.
Except where we are right now. Normally, except for a Feast of the Master or the Possible Time period, this is always the same hymn for Sundays.
Okay.
And then if this were not Sunday, we would have an Apostica, but we don't have Apostica on Sunday. If it was weekday, we would. And then normally, after both now, then you go into the Doxology, the Great Doxology, if it's a Sunday. If it's a big saint, they also get a Great Doxology. And then, that's not a doxa, it's a doxology. So Great Doxology. And then after the Great Doxology, there's another hymn of the resurrection, at least on Sundays. And that depends upon, are you tones 1 through 4 or 4 through 8? So depending upon where you are, you sing one of those. We never do it upstairs.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm going to work on that because we haven't actually finished it. There's always a hymn right immediately after the Doxology, which is either your Troparion of the day, if it's a Feast of the Master, or normally it's these, after rising from the tomb and breaking the bonds asunder, or, I forget the other one off the top of my head. But then you have some hymn that immediately follows this. And then normally, if you were in a monastery, you would have more litanies, and then you would actually finish Matins fully, and then then do first hour, and then third, sixth hour in liturgy. In our case, what we normally do is we finish with the Great Doxology, and then begin straight with liturgy. I would really like to at least get that other hymn there, because normally what happens in parishes is that the priest and the deacon, if they're there, they will finish all the litanies in the altar. And so there's a back and forth between them, and while the choir is singing the Great Doxology, you hear them saying, again and again in peace, let us complete our morning prayer to the Lord have mercy, the deacon, back and forth with the deacon. And so then they would finish those anyway, so the only thing that's really missing is that one hymn, which is a really nice hymn, and I think, it's the same words every week, it's just a different tone. Although we always do the same Doxology tone.
Oh, that's the same hymn every week too, you said?
It depends 1 through 4 or 4 through 8.
1 through 4, 5 through 8.
Yeah, 5 through 8, yes. That's how numbers work. 1 through 4 or 5 through 8. The words change for either 1 through 4 or 5 through 8. And this Doxology is debated as to whether it goes in the tone of this guy, the Eothenian, or whether it's the tone of the week. So that's really a local thing, is do you pick the tone of the week?
But that tone changes too then?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not always tone 8.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that was Matins.
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember all that.
Where's the bit where we sing to the Theotokos? Not from the canon, but isn't
That's really the canon.
That isn't canon.
That's right here, right before.
Alternate between more honorable than the church.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
So-
chapter 8.
Okay.
That's right after 8 and right before 9. So what you have is you have
Maybe the entire-
each one of these is a biblical canticle from the Old Testament,
Mhm.
except for 9. 9 is the Magnificat.
Right.
That's what it's called.
And so that's, my soul doth magnify the Lord, and my spirit.
That seems a lot more complex than Vespers.
It
Oh,
is.
It is,
yes.
yes.
Mhm.
It is. That's why the faint of heart do not do Matins.
Yes. He was going away this weekend, and I will confess that he said, "Will you lead Vespers?" And I yeah, okay. How about Matins? Will you be there? No. No.
And that's
not going there.
when we started doing like the morning prayer type of things. It was kind of like, should we do Matins? No.
Yes.
That would require too much prep and too much figuring out of things that eventually it would become seamless, and you just open the books and you're like, yeah, of course we're doing this, but that would require a little bit of initial prep work. So ours is much easier.
Yes.
So.
Plus you have to also have the conduct in the Troparium you see.
Okay, yeah. So the
canon, but that's too much.
Yeah. So
conduct after.
So the Kondakian.
3.
Yeah. So
or after 6. Or
and there's sessional hymns that are so the Kathisma hymns. There's other ones that are interspersed into the canon, and after 6, depending upon how many Kontakia you have, after 6 you read the Kontakian along with its ikos, at least on Sundays. And there's also, I didn't mention, was it before the hymns of ascent? There's I forgot to spell now. I know, but I forgot to spell. But there's a hymn right before the hymns of ascent. It's just red. But in here, after Ode 6, the Kontakian, the ikos just means home. It's just a word for home. And then you have the Synaxarian reading, which is the reading of anything that you're commemorating today. So on this,
On
On this day we commemorate,
on the 14th of May, we commemorate
yes,
so and
that's
so
true.
and so
That's
and
true.
so, and then you have a poem to those saints. And then you say on the today we also commemorate, so and so who is perfected by the sword, so and so is perfected by this, so and so who got his tongue cut out, but yet proclaimed the resurrection.
I know they give the details of how they're executed.
Yep.
But they don't do that.
Perfected by the
I don't know
sword.
if
I
they
like
do
that.
Yeah.
I know they do that in the Greek church. I don't think they don't do it in the cathedral. Maybe they.
We were doing it here, but then we ran out of time.
I would say this would be like a 2 hours plus.
Oh,
to do all
if
that.
not more. I mean, at a monastery, it really depends how you're doing it. But I mean, like you could. It's at least a 3-hour service. If you're gonna do everything, and if you're gonna, it depends, So, and if you do the
Because I don't think
canon.
you cheat at Vespers, and you can get that done in an hour.
Little cheats, not very much. We do
We don't
we
do
do
the
it.
Cathisma to
Yeah.
Vespers.
Yeah, we do a little bit of the Cathisma at Resurrectional Vespers. At weekday Vespers we don't.
Oh, I'm just thinking of Saturday night.
But even there we should be finishing. We do Psalms 1 through 3. We should be doing 4 through 9 as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that would finish out the first Cathisma fully.
Yeah, but I mean, we spin that out pretty quick, the 1 through 3. So that's not gonna have a whole lot of time. I mean,
Yeah.
an hour I think to do it. Because
Yeah.
it's taking about 45 minutes I think to get through.
Yeah,
that.
in general it's not. I would say an hour to an hour and 15. Yeah.
So this is like a 3-hour service. You said if you were to actually do everything.
Yeah.
It's the canon.
Yeah. I
That really
can
bolts it
see
up.
that
Yeah.
you gain a lot of
If
time
they're
by just
reading
doing the
the
last,
Cothis-
just doing the
Cothisma.
Kathavasiya.
Kathisma takes
Yeah.
a long time.
That too. Yeah.
And they do the full thing in Russia. I remember it took about 45 minutes to go through the Kathismata.
Yeah.
And then they read all the canons
Yeah.
too.
So then
Because we often skip a few, but they do the canon and then the saint of the Theotokos. So 3 readings
Oh yeah.
in between each of the
Yeah. So
things of the Yirm.
you got a pretty bulked
Yeah.
up service. And I mean, if
It
you're
started at 7 a.m. finish up
Yeah.
yeah, and if it's like when you get a layover in a flight, like if you're off by a few minutes, you might just miss the connection. So there's no guarantee that we'll make it for 10 a.m. literally. So and then you do have sometimes where they're super short, just because of the hymns that are sung or whatever it is, or it's just really straightforward. Like Palm Sunday is a pretty straightforward service, and sometimes you mix out the Vlogitari are not sung, other things are not sung, and it's kind of like, how did we get done so
And the
early?
Magnificat, that's not sung either. Is it?
Magnificat?
Palm
No,
Sunday.
that's some.
Mm-hmm.
Is it sung? I can't remember.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
do it? Okay. What should it be?
Yeah, Tintimio Terra. Don't hear them. Okay, so is that
Yeah.
all right. Yes, that's Matins in a nutshell. Just at least the basic structure for resurrectional.
I said I'm glad I started with Vespers.
Yeah, that's the way to go. But I mean, Matins has a lot of really nice things, and a lot of things that are like the Vlogitaria. You sing them every single week, and if we actually sang the same version, everyone would have them memorized, but we don't. And so
What do you mean if we actually sing the same version? You
same
said that's
music,
always in tone
same
five,
music
right?
and same words. Yeah. So
But so that doesn't change.
no, it's
Okay.
no. It's just that translation wise and music wise, we don't always sing the same.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that causes some problems. Just from memorization standpoint, like everyone in Pittsburgh, when you hear "Ane, Ane, blessed," like everyone, the deacon starts sensing, and he's singing at the top of his lungs. And we're like, "All right, deacon."
Yeah,
You know.
he's got it.
Yeah, because I mean, you sing that every single Sunday for all your life. You're gonna have it memorized. So, yeah. And there's some fun things that you can sing at work too.
Yes.
At least I sing at work, and everyone looks at me funny. So.
They've gotten used to me at work. It doesn't sound like, third grade or anything, but it's okay.
What's that? No, normally people are having discussions outside in the hallway, and I'm doing something, and we have like drones with all our equipment, and I start chanting to the drone, and then like people start like looking in, and then I look out, and I'm like, and then they open the door, and everything, like I stop chanting. They're like, "What were you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "You were chanting." I was like, "I was?" They're like, "Yeah." And I was like, it's kind of loud, wasn't it? I didn't. I thought the machine. Yeah. Okay, so the first Matinal Doxology is just the first of this cycle of 11, done at the rising of the sun, and expounding upon the hymn of the first Matinal Gospel. Yep. There's a little bit of word pinning and all sorts of stuff here. So I give it up to you. Do you want to just sing it straight and see how it goes?
Yeah, I guess we can give it a shot. There's some tricky rhythms down there.
What's the upbeat theme after this one?
Back to first mode.
And then we go down to the, so we have to make sure that we're which is a little low, but
No, we can add those.
so you want to sing it through?
Yeah, okay.
Let's bring it a little bit higher because we'll probably drop. So glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, as the disciples were hastening to the mountain. The Lord came to them that he might raise them from things earthly, and they worshiped him and learned of the power given to him in every place. They were sent forth to every land of He that cannot lie from. 1 second.
Say that again.
So, yeah. He that cannot lie from his also. We'll look at that in a second. That he would be with them forever. Even Christ, God thy Savior of our souls. Then continue with the Theotokian in the mode of the week on pages. All right, so that's what that is. You can tell it's a little bit more elaborate, just a tiny bit. So you have, let's just look at the beginning. As the disciples were hastening to the mountain. In Greek, I believe it actually says as the disciples. That word right there is to the mountain.
Right,
when the disciples. Yeah, isto oros. And so the way that that's word painted there is to the mountains. Da 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 da. You're climbing the mountain.
Climbing the mountain, right.
It doesn't work in English,
No.
but yet they kept the
Where
kept
does
the
it go?
phrase. So that's been criticized. That Papa Ephraim decided to keep that. John Michael Boyer has criticized it elsewhere, and he was like, I wouldn't write it like that. And the inflection is my own because it was written in writing, so I don't know how he would have said it, but he wrote it differently to accentuate mountain later, I believe. But so the mountain, that little N there, is there to re-articulate it if you need it. Sometimes it's helpful just for rhythmic sake, and in general, people really don't notice it, or at least it goes away and they forget that you did it. The Lord came to them that he might raise them. That's a very characteristic thing in tone 1. That he might raise them.
Yeah.
Sometimes the E song goes to Ga. It doesn't always go to Ga. Sometimes people just stay on Pa. I like it when it goes to Ga, and they wrote it on Ga. So it's kind of a nice little transition thing. From things earthly, and they worshipped him. We did find on that, and learned of the power given to him in every place. They were sent forth. That one, they were. Kedigavu pa, because that they becomes ke. Kedigavu pa, and we go back to pa into every land under heaven. Resurrection from the dead.
Yeah, that threw me off.
You don't need the ne there so much.
Yeah, I didn't even see the
As long as you re-articulate it there. Did I change the E sound right there?
To God, yeah.
Yeah, that one's a fun one. If you do, they don't change it St. Anthony's, but that one is from, if you go from the dead, E sound goes down to ni, ni da da, you go up to ga. It kind of changes into almost like Plagal 4 type of thing. Dun dun da da. Or a 10 grade mode type of thing. Either or. There's so it's kind of a neat little change there. So we changed the Eson in that one up in Pittsburgh. And the restoration, he that cannot lie, we did find eventually. So not lie promised also.
try that?
Sure. Do you want? Did it make sense? Or just
Yeah. Well,
okay.
maybe here, you do it one more time and we try it.
So promise also, and it's those digorgon that are weird. So you want me to write that out, or is that?
No, I think I got it. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah. And it's the also, because the end of the, if you look, you have the candimata with your oligon on the top.
Mm-hmm.
You have two sets of those.
Right.
And so then the first set is affected by the digorgon of the second. So that's why
Right.
So that's why it kind of just all gets combined together.
Yeah, that was to figure out where like that triple thing, where that triplet's coming from.
Yeah.
It steals a bit from the previous.
So, alright, and then we're home free after that. That's easy.
Like, so can we try that phrase then? He that cannot lie, or cannot lie promised also that.
Sure. Sure.
It's still a convenient break.
Honest, he that cannot lie promised also that he would be with them forever. Cool. Nice. Go back to the beginning? Or want to do anything in particular?
No. I think that was the trickiest part.
Yeah. John, you agree?
Well, that's just one. So we got stuck.
The digorgon.
No, I just think, but there's something up here I can't. Well, anyways, it's not that.
Okay. If it comes up during the thing,
Yeah.
raise your hand.
You can probably hear what we come across.
Flag us down, yeah.
Oh, that was it.
No, we didn't get it. So we'll do it a little same speed or
Oh,
a little
a little
faster.
quicker, yeah.
So what is it supposed to be?
As the disciples were hastening to, and you could do it faster, but I think that's fast enough that it's paced and it's not sounding rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've done a rush where we're kind of like looking at the clock and we're like, okay, as the disciples were they were really hastening to the mountain. So
this is the version you're using at Matins now?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The
Are you
longer
using this music? Are you using it? Byzantine style?
Yep.
How early do you?
What?
How early do you start?
We started at 9. Yeah.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah. We and if we really wanted to, I think 9. We could probably get it done by 10. It really depends when he wants the doxology to start, which is giving us problems.
That's good. Maybe it's all Byzantine.
Yeah.
Oh wow, actually.
So if we had 9:15, it'd be awesome. If we had 9:30, or sorry, 8:45, it'd be awesome. If we had 8:30, we could really.
You could do everything.
We could at least relax with certain things, and we could actually do the great litanies and things like that. So we just kind of skip over some things, for the sake of expediency. Anonymous, glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, as the disciples were
Oh, tripped him up. Yeah, you thought he was gonna keep on going down, right?
Thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So how about to the
Yeah,
mountain?
Yeah.
To the mountain, the Lord came to them that he might raise them from things earthly, and they worshipped him and learned of the power given to him in every place. They were sent forth. No. So, they were Keligabo. They were sent forth. So it's that minor
Yeah.
key. My computer wants me to upgrade to Mavericks, and it doesn't say no. It says details. That's really
You
weird.
haven't upgraded to Mavericks yet?
No. Should I?
Yes.
You're about to.
Okay, we'll
Yes.
discuss this afterwards.
We've got some security issues with Apple that Maverick will take care of.
All right, good. I'm still running on I'm running on a modern one, but
Yes.
Tiger. No, not Tiger. So they were sent forth to every land under heaven to preach the resurrection from the... Yep.
We lost.
Yeah.
So, to preach the resurrection from... So, one triplet, one from the dead. Oh, do you want to go back to preach the resurrection?
Yeah,
Or-
that'd be good.
Yeah.
To preach the resurrection from the dead and the restoration to the heavens. He that cannot lie promised also. You want to do that again?
Yeah. Well, can we just do also?
Sure. Also. So it's 1, 2, and 1, and 2, triplet, 3, triplet, 4.
Okay.
Also. also.
Because it does work.
It keeps
into
going
that.
up too. That's what I keep
Yeah.
It
forgetting.
also gets into the.
Well, right.
one
This
previous,
is
you
actually,
have to
this is stealing
start
from this.
early,
This is stealing
and
from
then
this. So it's
start
like,
early.
yeah,
Mhm.
you're
starting
starting earlier than you think you are.
Yep.
That's what's tripping me up.
So he that cannot lie.
Okay.
He that cannot lie promised also that he would be with them forever, even Christ God the Savior of our souls.
Cool.
And then we go, both now and ever and unto the ages of ages, amen. Most glorified art thou, O Virgin very, after that, it kind of just picks up.
Uh-huh.
So,
So is that the speed you're taking it at?
so I would do,
A little faster, maybe?
and the restoration
That's a little faster.
to the kind of if you're kind of strolling down the street. Yeah. Heavens. But then I will upstairs at least. I will pause at the heavens. So it's not. I'm not necessarily keeping it in rhythm all the time because sometimes you have to breathe and sometimes you have to do other things.
Stylistic, it just
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Otherwise you just keep barreling through,
Mhm.
and especially at a period, it's kind of like, let's relax. Let's just
About
contemplate
what we
that.
just heard.
Yeah.
Now let's hear some more.
Do you want to hear a recording of it?
Yeah, okay.
So.
Who is this?
I don't know. It kind of sounds like Rasam, but
Yeah.
Almasia, but I'm not sure if it's Greek or Arabic. I think his pronunciation is better, so I don't think this is Rasam. Yeah. You can hear the little things. Oh, they did what I did.
They went God into the God earlier. Cool. Can you send me the link to that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, you get a lot more out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just especially little symbols that we kind of gloss over, little things, interpretive things. You can see sometimes where he does what we do, sometimes he does something else.
Yeah, that was striking about it. It's like, oh, you don't do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and especially like
You
let's
did something
say
different there.
at the beginning,
We being us.
Yeah.
Nick,
as the
the
disciple.
Nick school of chanting.
So like if you look at the beginning, like as the, and he was also much higher as
Yeah,
the
yeah.
disciple. So he didn't do
No, yeah, that's what struck me.
or I don't know.
He did something different than he didn't go which,
Yeah.
which we all do like as a matter of rote
Yeah,
now.
but there is another school which would be like poles or
Yeah.
poles. That somehow they rearticulate it. And I've always thought it sounded neat, but I can't figure out what they're doing. So I think one time I did it, and I was amazed at myself, and then I never got it again. No.
Yeah, that was your
The
one- that
spirit
was your
went
one-
away. Yeah, the spirit descended and
Then
reascended.
let them
Once.
go.
Um,
I'm outta here.
The Greek tradition or Antiochian?
I believe I'm pretty sure he's Greek.
Yeah.
That didn't sound like Rossum to me. Rossum El Messiah. If I can find another recording of it, like by either my choir in Pittsburgh or by something else, because we every so often we record things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the one at least that's up on St. Anthony's Monastery. They have that.
Oh, is
Next
that
to
what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I know they got like some of the stuff is actually
some
chanted.
of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just go out there and.
But yeah.
do it.
I think that's a good place to stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
7:35.
Yeah, I should probably go upstairs
Ooh.
anyway. So
Yeah, she was good with that
they-
constantly thing.
they don't always start on time though.
Oh, no.
Never in my experience. But
Yeah.
Maybe it's different now.
Yeah.
Our church council never ended on time. Never ended.
Just remember,